And I wanna believe you when you
Hi! I just wanted to give you an update. We haven't made a movie in about a week, and I wanted to let you all know that we're still here, we're still homesteading, and, well, here's what we've been working on. We realized that the thing that we should concentrate most on right now is preparing ourselves to grow our own food. So to that end, we have like quadrupled the composting effort. Ben built a huge, amazing composter based on some specifications in a book called Crockett's Victory Garden. And normally that would be the place where I would hold it up for you to see, but I don't know where it is at the moment. I think Ben left it in the workshop or something when he was making the composter. So when I find it, I'll show you what the cover looks like, because it's basically my favorite book I've ever read besides Harry Potter, and it's the most instructional gardening book. Jim Crockett is a genius, a gardening genius. He's a guru, and you should definitely read what he has to say. And it's a pretty common design. I'm not sure that Jim Crockett actually made it up, but he's the one who published it in his book so that we could have it, so the credit's all his. And since we have such amazing composters, we thought we should learn a little bit more about compost, just to make sure that we're doing everything as efficiently as we can. I got this really awesome book, The Complete Book of Composting, by, well, I can't read his first name, J.I. Rodale. I've heard that Rodale writes really awesome books, and actually we got this before I had heard that, though. We got this at the Birch Bark bookstore in Potsdam, and I was talking to one of our viewers about soil, and they brought up the Rodale book. And so I was really happy because that viewer and I share something in common. We both love J.I. Rodale. I haven't read the whole thing. I'm kind of like in the middle of it. Not even. I read the first third of it, I'd say. And it's very enlightening so far. In reading about compost, I realized that one of the main disadvantages that we have in building our soil that a farm would normally have is access to manure. We don't have horses or cows, obviously. We don't have chickens for the poultry manure. We don't have anything like that. So I really was racking my brain. Where can I get manure? Where can I get manure? And then we had an unfortunate incident where we had to bust a friend's dog out of animal control. And when we went and visited animal control to get the dog, I realized that it's also the place where they keep the police horses. And so I asked one of the police officers what happens to the horse manure and if people were welcome to come and get it. And he said, well, he thought it, they all look at me like I'm crazy when I'm like, hey, horse manure is so good, you'd think that everybody would be asking, but no. So I took Ben along, and we picked up some horse manure. Well, he picked it up while I stood there, because his reach is a little further, and he's a little bit stronger, so it seemed appropriate. But if we get a second pitchfork, I'd love to help. And we picked up, like, 4 or 5 Rubbermaid containers of compost, well, of horse manure to compost. And it was funny because it was a different guy that was there when we went back and picked it up, and he told me that sometimes people come and pick up the horse manure, but they're mostly southern. I told him, well, I'm from the South Wedge, and he laughed. I don't think that's what he meant. Okay, so there's that. We now have access to horse manure. We pick it up. We're going to be picking it up as often as we can and filling it, putting it in our composter as often as we need manure. And having manure introduces new problems to the situation. We live in very close quarters with our neighbors, and we don't want to offend anybody with the smell of horse manure. I think that it smells really good, but, you know, I don't think that everybody shares that view. So I didn't want to offend the neighbors, but our new composter, as you'll see, is kind of it's an open kind of structure. It's got just wire mesh. It's like wire mesh cubes, basically. And I have to make sure that the smell is contained. So we did a lot of mowing of the lawn, and we raked up all the grass clippings and the leaves that are falling at the moment, and we put those in with the horse manure in a layer over top to keep the smell contained underneath. And also we set up a relationship with a local coffee shop, and I want to tell you more about this coffee shop. I will, but not right now. We set up a relationship with the coffee shop and got a whole bunch of burlap sacks from them. So we've covered our compost with burlap now, which should keep the rain from leaching all of the nutrients out of the soil, and it's also helping to keep the smell contained. And I noticed today that our compost is super hot from all of the manure in it. I have a feeling that the burlap, I can't be hurting. I'm sure that it's helping the heat from escaping and keeping the temperature up. So that's really great. The coffee shop also gave us some coffee grounds. Not too many. We didn't collect a lot from them, but they said that today they'll have even more for us. So I'm going to go back this evening and see if they remembered our composting venture. And what else is in the horizon? Oh, so the more I read about compost, the more curious I started to become about vermiculture and farming worms.